Going to be discussing who cares more about looks, men or women. Now, in case you're wondering what that photo is, it's basically just a centaur, which is like public baths in Japan. So obviously, the male and female ones are separate. And the reason I decided to include this image is obviously because I'm half Japanese. So I was inspired to add this picture. Now, of course, before we get the video started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my other platforms. Link will be in the description below as always. So we're going to start with this statement that male and female attraction are different, even with some similarities. Now, both of us are visual, of course, we have eyes, and of course, we both have biological hardwiring. But today we're going to be discussing where we differ because it's quite a lot more different than society will have you believe. Now, according to the red pill, men care more about looks than status or resources. The explanation for this is you hear the term gold digger all the time for women, but you don't hear the male equivalent as often. And male to female attraction, according to the red pill, is, of course, looks, lack of promiscuity, which means low body count, or for the more extreme red pillars, virginity, and personality. Meanwhile, it states that women care about looks, but less than men do, and prioritize status and resources instead, especially for long-term mating. Hence, that gold digger stereotype is everywhere. Female to male attraction, according to them, is this complex cocktail of looks, confidence, game, holding frame, which is basically demonstrating high status via behavior, like tonality control, sub-communication, pickup skills, etc. And obviously things like money, social status, which is like kind of fame in a way, or having respect and rank in a certain, it could even be like a school, or being the captain of the football team in school, or being a regular at some club or bar near you, or doesn't have to be near you, but you see the point. And pre-selection, which is obviously women knowing that other women want you, right? Which obviously increases attraction and personality. So this is the thing about the red pill. It believes that men and women are almost like polar opposites, and that men are like these simple creatures who just simply say looks, 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 and with some emphasis on obviously her past and personality. But it portrays women as these complex emotional creatures with this hardwiring. I don't even fully agree with this, but we'll go on to the next viewpoint. So, well, actually, it's the same viewpoint, but let's have a look at this. According to the red pill, male attraction, if we have a look at it like a pizza or a pie or a cake, 70% of that pie is looks. So it's like male attraction is 70% visual. Some will say it's even more, but I'm going to say 70%. And then they believe that the other 15% are things like personality, and the other 15% are things like purity, which obviously means, like I said, lack of promiscuity in the past. Right? So that's what they believe. They believe men don't care about status and resources at all. They don't care about that. Whereas they believe that women do care about looks, but it's like 40%, with the other 10%, let's say personality here, pre-selection, confidence, social status, game / holding frame / pickup skills, and obviously money. I couldn't find exact colour equivalent, but you can clearly see that the second blue one is obviously money. So they believe that, like I said, there are so many factors to go into female attraction. Now, according to the black pill, right, male attraction is 80% looks, right? But they believe that the threshold is very low, as in that men don't usually care that much about looks when it comes to choosing a woman, usually because they lack optionality. Whereas personality plays a role as well. But they believe that women care mostly about looks, but also personality, money, and status, right? So that's the difference. Although I'd say the more extreme ones might push it up to 70 or 80%. So if I had to just guess what the red pill logic is about saying that female attraction is this complex cocktail, I think it's because they believe that reproduction is obviously higher investment for women, so they need more traits in the man in order to make sure that he's a good father and will also pass on good genes to the son or daughter, which is the sexy son theory, which loads of people discuss. where the black pill believes that the genetic side comes first. According to me, I just put a photo of some maroon pills because I feel like I have a lot of red pill beliefs and some black pill beliefs. Although I would probably say I'm slightly closer to red pill. So I think that male attraction is mostly looks. I think we can all agree on that. 70% of it is looks, 15% of it is personality, the other 15% is future plans. I also believe that female attraction is mostly looks as well, but I think that things like personality here, game, which I don't define game as pickup skills, but I define game as things like knowing what to do in bed, knowing how to flirt, knowing how to build on the attraction that's already there to make her more comfortable, having basic social awareness. I wouldn't say it's quite as simple as not being autistic or not being neurodivergent. I still don't think being neurotypical is quite enough. I still think you need to understand like what stimulates them and how to make the experience better and things like that. But I still don't believe that you have to run scripts. I don't believe you have to have perfect lines or tactics. I just believe that you shouldn't be a jester maxer. That's it. You should, stay in control of your frame. Don't pedestalize her too much. Well, I mean, you're gonna have to compliment her sometimes, but don't treat a woman differently just because she's more attractive, because that is the definition of a simp. And then have a look at this, money and status. Notice how I said it plays a role, right? But ironically, I think that male attraction also has money and status as well. But that's the reason I put future plans there, because I feel that some of that goes under future plans. The reason I say this is because you will have some women who are not that attractive facially, but because everybody they have a reputation for being attractive, right? Because of their social proof. I found that a lot of women follow that example. Like Sophie Rain, for example, or Sydney Sweeney. Facially, they're probably not Stacey's at all. They're probably like slightly to significantly above average, right? On the BP scale, maybe like a 6 or something. But because of their social proof, because of some of their bodily features, in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what their exact facial ratios are, because we know that they're attractive. So that obviously proves that social proof makes both men and women more attractive. Although women care more about social proof than us men still care about it. And you can deny it all you want, but it's the truth. I would also like to add that nearly everyone except the extreme side of the BP agrees that looks are a smaller slice of the pie for women evaluating men than it is the other way round. However, this does not mean that women care less about looks than men in practice, because like I said, most of us have very low standards. Women have higher ones, and this is because women have more options than men. Like for example, when guys say that they don't want to date a woman long term because she's not that good looking, functionally they probably could easily have that relationship, but they're more worried about what other men are going to say about the girlfriend rather than what they actually think. So how much can men improve their looks? Philosophical debate. So the red pill would say that men can improve their looks a lot, which is like skincare through soft maxing, gym, teeth whitening, posture, grooming, style, photos, right? Can level men up a lot. So it's like saying a 4 can become a 7 if he puts the work in and makes an effort. Meanwhile, the black pill would say that soft maxing only works to a certain degree as long as you're not sub 5 or neurodivergent. So that's like ADHD or autism. A 4 could become, let's say, a 5.5 with effort. Most of the value is in bone structure, and you won't be able to date hotter girls, which they call so-called out of your league, which is a problematic mindset to have in my opinion. And obesity in their view is the only controllable sub 5 factor, right? Because I feel like this whole sub 5 theory is just a bit too nihilistic. So I think red wins this round, because I've seen so many guys who the black pillars would give such low scores, but then when you see them with the right camera angles, with the right style, they get way more matches. Like, if you don't believe me, just check out Austin Dunham's Digital Romeo. Check out his YouTube channel. You will see so many examples of guys that the BP would have rated like 4s, right? I don't know about 3, but 4 at the very least. Suddenly start, slaying and dating attractive women on the dating apps. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that every single man can do this, but it's proof that it is at least possible. So that's why I think the red pill is better than the black pill when it comes to this section. Next one is, how much can women improve their looks? Now, the red pill says that women can't improve their looks as much as men, because they say things like, oh, it's the hourglass body shape, it's facial features, makeup can only go so far, and that it's harder for women to looks max than men. And they say that, well, yeah, 4s and 5s can get, obviously, some dates, they can get loads of matches on the dating apps, but the men only want casual attention, like, they only want to sleep with them, they don't want to commit. Whereas the black pill would say that makeup is the female equivalent of looks maxing, and it is easy to implement, and it's extremely socially acceptable, and it's almost seen as weird not to do it. Plus, women actually have a lot of options, even for long-term relationships, at a rating as low as 4, which could become even a 5 or a 6 with makeup alone. Whereas the things that make us men attractive take a lot longer to improve. Now, in my opinion, I think the black pill wins here, and the reason why is because it's cope to say that the 4s and 5s can only get casual attention, because the red pill implies that women gatekeep sex but men gatekeep commitment. But I found that it's often that women gatekeep both commitment and sex, because the female desire to have long-term relationships, especially in their early 20s, is lower than it's ever been, because women, for the first time in history, no longer need a man to provide for them or protect. That's why so many women report being happy single, and many women are focusing on other areas of their life, and some are just not dating, full stop. Like, they're not even on the so-called carousel, which I don't think many women are actually on. They're just not dating at all for a few years, right? Because they always know that they can find a man. But more on the gatekeeping stuff. So the reason I actually think this is because if you ask this question, who usually asks for the relationship, the man or the woman? It's usually the man. Who gets judged for their performance in the bedroom more? The man or the woman? The man, right? So that means that women must gatekeep both relationships and sex, because more men are desperate for relationships than women. Okay, it is the man who is judged. Okay, who is expected to set up the date? The man. Who is expected to pay? Although I would say these days that traditional norms are leaving, most of the time the man is more likely to pay than the woman. So for that reason, it doesn't really make sense, the red pill view on this, and the black pill view makes more sense. And finally, just to wrap this up, because I've been waffling on a bit too much, we can easily disprove the fact that average to below average women only get casual attention, because of those 300 plus likes she gets on these dating apps, you can't seriously tell me that none of these guys are like, you know, just regular good guys who would give them commitment. Like, of course some of them will, like maybe the women are ignoring these guys, but I can almost guarantee you that I don't buy into this myth that all these guys are like low quality. Like, a lot of them would be willing to have a relationship, and furthermore, we see this happen all the time. We see guys dating down happily. So I think that it's largely a coping mechanism. But like I said, I might make a video on this one day, because I feel like I need to address this idea that maybe after all, women are the gatekeepers of both sex and relationships. And I don't like this whole idea that, you know, it's this men using women for sex, but that's just not what's happening. Now, the next one, do men age like fine wine? The red pill says yes, of course. If a man works on his looks, money and status, he can realistically be the most attractive in his 30s and beyond, and not his 20s, whereas women decline from their early 20s onwards. The black pill, on the other hand, would say no, men peak in their 20s, like women, and obviously things like testosterone declining, features wrinkling, causing less indicators of health to be displayable, and sperm quality declining. Now, actually, my take is that red wins this round for men, but for women, like, both of them are coping. Now, I'll tell you why. Many women remain attractive way later in life. I feel like it's a huge myth in this manosphere, because they're like, oh, women lose value after 30. But that's just not true. I've seen loads of women in their 30s, 40s, still being attractive. It happens all the time, still having options. This whole idea that women suddenly lose options the moment they turn 30, it's just not true. That's just not what we're seeing. And furthermore, as when you see these two angles, it's like both have flaws because both underestimate female dating power in their 30s. Although I would argue that like the black pill acknowledges this more. But then my problem is that both of them are too extreme. Like the black pill overestimates how early the male wall is, whereas the red pill underestimates it. But in my honest opinion, if I just had to say it straight up, right? The reason I agree with fine wine theory to a degree is because if a man, let's say, okay, if he works hard on his business, on his mission, if he takes high quality photos, even if he's got slight grey hair, like he might pull off that silver fox look, with the sharp jawline, with with the old money aesthetic. He's in great shape. He's kept his testosterone high with a good diet, eating clean, doing all of the stuff he's supposed to do, taking care of his skin. Then he can almost look like some experienced wolf. And obviously, because age signals experience, and of course, women like men who are experienced and know what they're doing because of obviously leadership, or at least a subset of women do. I feel like age can benefit men a lot. Now, I'm not one of those fine wine copers who say that men peak at 55 or 50, but I do think that men peak maybe like in their early 30s, right? But I also believe that both genders don't decline until a lot later than either of these pills believe. So I don't think it's static, because if it was really as static as this, then we wouldn't see like couples in their 40s and 50s, 60s pairing together. Plus, something that disproves both of these, kind of, not fully, is that most cheating and affairs happen later in life. We're talking like 40s and 50s. Studies are proving that it happens later. Whereas the manosphere would have you believe that it happens earlier in life, like 20s and 30s. So I feel like it ignores older couples who meet and pair bond and have sex, etc. So, now that we're wrapping up this video, what do you guys think? I'd love to know what you think. Who cares more about looks, fine wine theory, self-improvement theory, looks maxing? I'd love to know your views. So let me know in the comments below, and see you next time.